And a very good morning to you. Welcome to Natasha Makes. Are you on, Jane?
I think I'm on. Can you
Does
hear
it?
me?
I don't know. Does it say mute?
It says mute off, question mark. Am I on now?
There we go. Perfect.
Good, thank you.
The joy of the microphone. It does help. It does help, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's all, yeah, I mean, we could just shout a bit. I'm sure me and Gemma have got loud enough voices.
Well,
Most
yes.
people could hear.
Gemma, speak lovely.
Even with our indoor voices on. We like to project. So good morning to you. How are you? I'm not going to lie, Jane. It's been particularly manic here this morning, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. But birthdays have that effect on people, don't they? We
Try-
got to have cake this morning.
We
which
did.
is
Come
rather
on in,
nice.
because otherwise you're just loitering
Just
on
a
the
bit.
edge. Just your voice
Good morning, everybody.
with a bit of nose sometimes.
Yeah.
Voice with a bit of nose.
Yeah.
So it is this show today.
It's beautiful.
I mean, right.
It is lovely. Came out. You have an idea, because when you've got fabric with big prints on, as a traditional quilter, which is what I consider myself to be, it's difficult sometimes to get the best of the fabric. And then I had this idea, this little spark came.
I love it, Jen. I'm
And
just
I
throwing
think
it out there. I
really
love it.
just shows the fabric off beautifully.
So these are fabrics by Jane Sussman. So we've had her fabrics before and they've just flown, absolutely flown. And I just love the hot summer colours in here. And you've got time to make it for summer, right?
Yeah.
You've got time. And I think for anyone that's got to that point of year, January can be blinking depressing, can't it?
It's rather dull, isn't it?
Yeah, so to be working with bright, vibrant, beautiful fabrics. I mean, the one with the bees and the sunflowers
This
in.
is just stunning.
Just beautiful, just beautiful. And to get all of these in, it's a big old quilt, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not over facing, it's 55 square.
I like that size.
Yeah. It's
Because it's
nice-
big that you can get under it
Yeah.
and really snuggle down.
And it's big. It's not too big to quilt yourself. I mean, I've taken this to Amanda at the little quilt house to have it quilted on her long arm.
But that's just because we're snowed under.
Yeah, just
You know.
for time reasons, really. And I thought an overall long arm pattern just is soft enough to still show off the fabrics, which is what you want to do with that quilt, really.
We love it. Now, those eagle-eyed amongst you, of course, already bought last week. And this isn't, it's one of the only ones that isn't actually in there.
Yeah, that's right.
But there is a smaller kind of version of this one. Can you see it's a smaller and in a different colourway. And to be honest, Inga can actually pronounce it. Celosia
So yeah.
is what we're saying. And I'm at that stage where I think if you say it with enough confidence,
You can get away with it.
it's the Celosia. And you can see it a little bit bigger. I've hurt my shoulder. I can't actually lift my arm today. So there we go. That's that. And then we've got the bees in another colour there as well. Half meter heavens.
Yes.
We'll talk about those in a minute. I'm going to say hello to everyone first.
Okay.
We've also
you do
had...
like to tease people.
I know, sorry about that. But it's just, you know. We've also had the dogs in today, which has been absolute pandemonium, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, but it was lovely.
It's just Margot's tail.
Yes. Because
That's
like
it.
A huge whip.
And she just
About
is
that long.
so pleased to see
Oh,
everyone.
She's just so happy. Yeah. She's
And,
a happy dog.
Yeah. Good morning, Myra. She's not slept a wink all night. So if I doze off, just shout. We will. I slept awkwardly.
Myra, wake up.
I think that's why. I think I just slept awkwardly. Morning, Rebecca. I don't think Jane's mic is working.
Is it
Oh,
not? Am I
should
not?
be now.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, Jackie. The kitchen fitters continue. Wall units are wonky. Oh,
Oh dear.
oh.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit of stress going on there.
We've got heating engineers coming in today.
People saying they can't hear Jane.
Still on. I am on. I'm on. Definitely on. Not on mute.
No. Well, you will be now because you just pressed mute.
Is that mute?
It will say on there. Hang on. Now we're off mute.
Yep.
Is that
Okay.
working? Well, we'll
that
try.
better?
We'll try.
No, I don't think so. You'll lose all our viewers if I start singing.
Well, we've got Maureen with us. I'm going to assume that Maureen is in Australia. I think we know this anyway. But the fact that we've got koalas and kangaroos, emojis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we like that. Morning, Rona. So good morning. And I think, actually, If I just press on live, then I can find all the other ones. Oh, can you bring it home? We've not got any heating, says your husband. Oh. Why haven't you got any heating?
Because we've got heating engineers today.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Morning, Stephanie. Morning, Vicky. Good morning to you. Good morning, Elizabeth. Hang on, I'm going to scroll up to the top of them. Your mum's watching as well.
Morning, Mum.
She's got a follower anniversary. What's that all about?
Is it?
I don't know.
2 years since she started following us on
I don't
Facebook.
know. I have no idea. Good morning, Faye. Oh, I've got subtitles on as well.
Ooh.
Fabulous. Morning, Heather and Ginny. That quilt is breathtakingly beautiful,
That's lovely. Thank
says
you.
Ginny. Do you know what? Oh, everything's frozen this morning, including your husband.
Yes. Bless him.
Give up with technology, it is not our friend. So this morning I'm going to have a little run through, because of the dogs being here, the kids being here, my husband not being here, and all sorts of other stuff going on this morning, which meant that I didn't get my normal morning's work done.
No.
Not going to lie.
I won't tell you that I had a little moment of panic when I came here and the place was in darkness. I won't tell you that.
No, don't tell me that. No.
Because normally lights are blazing, music's on, and I walk in, I'm like, morning, over the music, and it was nothing. And I was like,
No. I was busily herding cats / children.
yeah.
Did I feed
I
the
guessed
cats?
that because I thought it's Freddie's birthday.
I fed the cats.
You did?
Yes. And
I
let
thought
the
it's
ducks out.
Freddie's birthday. She's staying at home to help him open his prezzies.
Yeah, and
and
then he
have
bought
cake.
cake here.
We had cake for breakfast. How nice was that? We're all
It is a
bit
cake for
hyper now.
breakfast day. So what you need to know really is, I will do a Facebook Live a little bit later. We'll post it all over social, showing you tomorrow's Half Meter Heavens.
Yes.
But we've been having a sort out through the warehouse. We have got skiddly bits left of the Anna Maria Horner Echinacea. Love. When it's gone, it's gone. So we will be matching these up with some beautiful colours for you. Possibly different ones, who knows. See the...
Beautiful.
So they will absolutely, for sure, be on. Absolutely. So that is my job for as soon as we come off air, is sorting those, and I'll make sure that is. So just look at social, and we will make sure that they are all over the place for you. And then I think we still have a handful of these. So if you wanted those from last week, they're already up. Do grab a look at that. Jane, we've got 2 versions of this quilt today. We've got it in Jane Sassman. We've also done it in a cafe, which is
which is what I'm going to demonstrate with.
This comes in at...
Yeah.
I can't quite remember. It was on one of my messages, but I just remember when Gemma texted me last night quite late. So that is actually really good value.
It's actually only 9 fat quarters,
Yeah,
a metre of the plain, and a ½ metre for the binding.
amazing. It's amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing what you can do.
Yeah.
So the other things to tell you about on the show today, and this is kind of another reason that we're not all over the Half Meter Heavens, because otherwise you'd never actually get to have a go, Jane. Right.
The fabric kit is
$49.99.
Amazing.
Should be over 50, but you know,
Yeah, nearly 52.
nearly 52. But we've done that. Everyone loves a
Gem's
bit
done
of
you a deal,
yeah,
because she's good like that.
So Electric Quilt 8, otherwise known as EQ8. I have got a show on the craft store demonstrating this. Today or tomorrow or the next day. Days merge.
Yes, Thursday, Friday.
I'm going to say possibly Friday.
Yeah.
I've got, how many shows have I got there? 5, 6, 7, 8 shows over the next 2 days. Hence why my head is also a bit, wah! It's a lot to prep. So, Electric Quilt 8, EQ8. This is the software that we use to design quilts.
It is?
It's what
I
John Cole
love it.
Morgan
Yeah.
uses to design quilts.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely awesome piece of stuff. And if ever we actually work out how we can show you the screen of this, we will demo it here as well, because we all use it and we all absolutely love it. And it's just very intuitive. You can import the fabrics that
Yeah.
you are using.
It's got a library of fabrics in there already, but you can, if you like with the Jane Sassy Man, I can download the images for that and put that within my file, because you each time you design a quilt, you open a new file. I can put that within my file, and then I can use those actual fabrics
Yeah.
so I can see what it's going to look like.
For beginners to advanced designers, it covers the lot.
It's
And
also got an intuitive program of lessons on there. So
Yes.
you start from the lesson one is
Well, let's-
literally, this is how you switch it on and this is how you open a file.
let's
It's
talk
wonderful.
about that then as well, because you can also get the book. So for me, when I got EQ8, I also got the book.
An
So
absolute brilliant idea.
because I'm a paper girl,
Yes.
I love paper, so this worked really well for me. And this is what I will basically be demoing at the craft store, is getting started with it, because there's no point in me doing a really advanced
You
session
need to know the basics before you start going.
if you don't know just how to go through it. So I will go through what each of the little tabs at the top do and show you, but it's very intuitive. You just basically work your way through the tabs at the top, and you've got like a starter one that it shows you how to do, so that you get to design your first one with them step by step, and that kind of gives you all the ideas. So this book is fab. I would really recommend buying this in conjunction, because it's just, and also they've really thought about it. It's ring bound and everything else. So
Yeah.
you've got,
It's really great because you've got a reference then to go back on, because you'll not remember it all because it's
No.
got so many functions on it.
you can also do your applique quilts. I mean, it's got so many blocks in there, but you
Yes.
can also do your applique blocks. It will show you how to do all of that. You can also take your photographs and convert them into quilts. I mean, this piece of kit is phenomenal, no matter what sort of thing you like, and it will then even work out your yardage,
Yeah.
how much you need. If you're doing foundation paper piecing, it will print off the foundation paper piece
Two
for you.
size, yeah.
It's far cleverer than I am.
It is an American system, so it does work in yardage,
think
but
you
that's easy to convert back. And because we're always working in inches anyway, it's a great
Now,
use.
this is beautiful.
Absolutely.
This is like a coffee table book, the Encyclopedia of Pieced Quilt pieces, Patterns, and I mean it is.
You've got every conceivable block in there. It's amazing.
I mean, you really have, and it's. I mean, for any quilter, this is just a joy, and everyone should have one. And it just absolutely stunning. And of course, you can find these. You know, you can make these up yourself in here as well. You can create your own blocks.
They've got a library of blocks, so they've got the very essential blocks within the library. So you can probably find a lot of those blocks within their library, because they're
Yeah.
traditional quilting blocks that are available for everybody to use. So you'd be able to find those within the programme and create a quilt using
But
them.
if you cannot,
You can design them.
no, something even different, Jen. We
Mhm.
haven't told you about this yet,
No.
because this is now in software form.
Oh, amazing. So you can
So
add it.
now block base gives you, and you can see, look, you've got the same frontage. It's basically this encyclopedia that you can use with EQ8,
Amazing.
which gives you an extra 4,000 quilt blocks.
Oh, mind blown.
I know, right? Absolutely. Now, if you're going, that's all very well and good, but, and this is also for Windows and for Mac.
Yeah.
And it just, you just get a code and you just input that. If you're going, that's all very well good, but I can't design anything, I wouldn't even know where to start. Designing quilts. This is where you need to go, okay? And that will set you right. And this is what I mean, if you want to do it from a photograph and you
Yes.
break it down, it's just so clever. Really clever. And I will be studying this very carefully, because I've just been asked to design quite an exceptional quilt.
Wonderful.
Yeah. You know when you're really excited by something and
Yes.
then totally
frightened.
yeah, because you
Yes.
don't know if you can actually do it.
Which you
Yeah,
will
I'm
be
there.
able to do it. You'll be fine.
So there we go. That is what we've got for you in addition for today. And you know, the prices are, you know, they're what they are. They're just, that's
it's a
what they are, market rate.
It's a, you know,
Yeah.
if you've had some money for Christmas.
But it's a resource that doesn't run out.
No, it's always going to be there.
And that's the absolute beauty of it, because it doesn't matter what you go on to do, they're there.
Yeah.
And that I love them. Oh, look. Now, I'm going to leave you to show everybody you're rather stunning. I don't know if that's a really bad idea. That one in, there we go. That's it. There we go. I knew there was a way that these were, I put them out, then Gemma re-put them out. We've got 2 different bundles.
Wonderful.
And I'm going to leave you to show everybody what we've got and go and sit over there.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, everybody. With me cup of tea. Whoops.
There we go. Right, so we've got 2 bundles. We've got the Jane Sassyman bundle, which is the one which is behind me. As I say, 9 fat quarters of different prints within the Summer Salsa, it's called, isn't it, collection?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
They are stunning. The colours are beautiful. It really is, as Natasha says, it really gives you a feel of the summer. The sunflowers with the bees. We've got that with the purple background. And then I think we've got it with the red. Yeah, we have.
I mean, also for bag making. So all of these fabrics are available cut to order as well. So if you've got an idea that you want cushions or you want something else with it or separate to it or whatever, we've tried to make sure that we've got you covered.
I think there's a slight difference in scale of the pattern on the red background and the purple. I think the purple's slightly bigger, but the pattern, well, it's just stunning. And you can imagine a beautiful bag with that, just a ½ metre of that, and make a lovely tote bag. So those are the sort of like the main prints within that range, I think. And then we've got, now, how do we pronounce it again? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Oh, well, the flower?
Yeah, that beautiful one. I've had this flower in bouquets before, and
it's
at first
down.
You look at it and you think it's artificial because it's got like a velvet.
Yeah,
this bit here is
really
like a velvet,
beautiful.
isn't it? But I love that design, and it's all sort of a bit Art Deco-y, I think.
I just think it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And Alison says, lovely quilt, watching while recovering from COVID and socially isolating.
Dear.
Bless you. She has no better way. Thank you. Well, we're happy to be here. And Elizabeth says, I wonder if you can put a phone on EQ8 and press the bring on camera button. I don't know.
Might be able to.
Josh is in today, we'll ask him.
We've got mini sunflowers there on a purple background. This lovely daisy, which again is in 2 scales. There's the larger scale and the slightly smaller scale.
I like how she's done different scales.
Yeah, she hasn't just gone, right, we'll do that size and we'll just put a different colour background on it. She's just reduced the scale just slightly, just to make it just a little bit different, which is lovely.
Oh, Lisa's watching with wine.
Ooh.
I just like to say she's
because
in Australia.
Evening.
Not just,
Yes, it's her
having
evening,
a bad day. Yeah. Oh, Sylv's here, and Kim and Kathy and Ali. Good morning.
And this one's called Mexican Tile. And I just, again, I can...
Isn't that just like a hot summer holiday?
Yeah, I can see bags in this because it's just... Look at that. It's stunning. Stunning. It's got such a vibrant feel to it. It's lovely. And then I chose one of our plains, the hot tomato, because I thought that just sings out the oranges and the reds within that.
You chose
just
well.
Brings it. And then, I love a stripy binding. So I chose the stripe for the binding. There's ½ metre of that within the kit. Because I love a stripy binding.
Of these fabrics are available by the ½ metre for you, okay? Just so that you know. So if you need to buy extra, if you're getting the quilt, you want to buy extra or whatever, then it's
you might want to make the quilt bigger. You might want to make more blocks, in which case, get a ½ metre of each.
It's all good.
Make it bigger.
It's all good.
Buy 2 kits. I think we haven't cut the kits yet, so if they wanted to have 2 kits, we could cut it at a ½ metre pieces. And then we've got the Kaif. Well, we've got a vast array of Kaif fabrics, so it was just like, this is going to be fun to play with all of these.
I know Margaret says that she thinks that she's got all the fabrics in your green and magenta version.
Yes, possibly. So I went with cactus flower.
We laid these all out, didn't we?
Yeah.
And just checked how they all sat together. I love that cactus flower. Cactus flower is one of my favourites.
And then we've got a bit of millefeuille. Now, is this caladium, this one, or is it
Yeah, Saturday Night in the Caladium.
caladium?
Beautiful.
Just love the vibrant colours in there.
And you can suddenly see how that's going to pull the purple from the cactus flower
Yeah.
as well. It all starts to tie in together.
And we've got a bit of brassica.
Love, love, love that. Bringing a lightness as well. So we've
Yeah.
got those dark, medium and light tones
We've got
coming on.
and scale as well. We've sort of tried to keep large, medium, small, medium, because you don't do tiny with Cafe really. That's a bit of garland.
Yeah.
You don't do ditzy prints with Cafe.
That is the closest you're going to get,
To a ditzy, yeah.
is the garland, for
And
sure.
then look at this, the Van Gogh
Oh,
sunflowers. I love that one. That is beautiful. And then we've got some feathers.
Oh, did we put feathers in the end as well?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
It's
Alison
just got
loves
the
all
green
these
and it's got a
fabrics.
little bit of that magenta splashed in there as well with the oranges.
Do you know what though? Look at how suddenly there's a little bit of blue in those
Yeah.
feathers, and just see how it's pulling the blue from the Van Gogh.
Yeah, just pops
It
it all out,
just-
doesn't it?
This is what I love about Cave.
Then a bit of jumble in there.
No, no, that's not jumbled.
No.
That is, oh gosh,
Oh.
what's it called?
No, it's not jumble.
No, jumble's the bigger
Now
one.
I've said jumble, it's gone out of my head and it's
It's something like
pebble.
pebble
Mosaic.
mosaic.
That's it,
Pebble
pebble
mosaic. That's it. Well done, Jane. We get there in the end.
And then
Oh
a
yeah,
bit of shaggy.
shaggy.
Because it wasn't me.
Pebble mosaic.
We got it.
We've already said it.
We got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we got
alright.
there in
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually. Trouble is, once you
so-
say one thing, you can't get it out of your head, can you?
Oh no, it's like a song, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't then sing anything else.
No. So that's the range of the 9 fat quarters I've chosen for this one. And then we've got the magenta as the sashing strip.
Beautiful.
And then a bit of shirt stripe. Is it shirt stripe?
It is shirt
For
stripe.
the binding.
Yeah. And again, the shirt stripe has
It's got
all
all
of
those
colours
colours in, so it's going to just pull that together. The sashing strip just gives it a bit of a frame, and I want to say it calms it down. Because if you put all of these strips like next to each other, that is just like a visual explosion, isn't it? And your eye's going to be all over the place. Whereas just putting the plain in will just frame each colour, each fabric print, and just calm it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, you know, exposing those beautiful patterns, which we love.
Alison says it's a perfect combination. We all had a go, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I put 9 down and I was like, not sure about this one. And Natasha said, put that one in. And we were like, yay, that works.
There's that moment, isn't it, where
Yeah.
it just suddenly all sings and you go, yes,
That's it.
that is it.
Because sometimes you'll pick a fabric and you'll think, yeah, that's going to work really well. And you put it next to it and you're like, oh, it doesn't work at all. It's just like... Yeah, so we've got some gorgeous colours, and I'm going to demonstrate the pattern with this. Now, it's a really straightforward pattern. It really is. And it's all about, it's sort of a cut and come again type pattern, which is where you cut the fabric all in one go, and then we mix the layers up.
Oh, nice.
So you'll need to have a nice, fresh rotary cutter blade.
Oh, Maureen, I'm with you. She says wonderful colours, makes my heart sing.
Absolutely.
Do you know what that is? We are so lucky, aren't we, Jane?
Oh.
Because on a miserable January
I can't
day,
tell you what a joy it is to work in our warehouse, because, well, we just work with fantastic fabrics for a start and beautiful colours. Beautiful colours. Inga and I quite often say, aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
To, you know,
It was actually interesting hearing Gaynor the other day, because she went to Birmingham, because I mean Birmingham is known for its rag markets
Yeah.
and its big fabric warehouses, and she took her mum and she said to me, actually, she said, I was looking around all these huge places. She said, I didn't want any for the fabric. She said, you've spoilt me.
yes,
And
absolutely,
we
because
are spoilt, because
yeah,
we do
we've got
just have
fabulous Cave, we've got the Jane Sassaman, we've got a good selection of Moda, so
Yeah.
you know, you want your traditional, and some of those aren't even what we would consider traditional.
no, absolutely.
And then the Lewis and Irene, I mean the Lewis and Irene prints are just
They're just beautiful,
Just,
aren't
all
they?
of it is. It's just, you know, yeah, absolutely spoilt rotten.
Jane says, gorgeous combo for Cave. Love the look of the quilt. Might have a go once I've done some cushions.
Yeah.
And then Jo says, I love auditioning fabrics. I get to lay them all out and stroke them a bit.
Yeah,
And Jo, at some point you might,
actually use them. You don't have
I
to.
mean, you don't have to, like, there's no pressure.
So I'm going to change my blade live on air. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, let's not chance it.
So just to say, when you do change your blade, obviously be careful, because although your blade is dull, it will still be sharp. So just take care
Oh, morning, Frankie.
when you're doing it.
I'm hoping that van noise outside is the dog walker
Let's hope so.
coming to collect the girls who are super
Or they're just going to be
excited.
warehouse dogs today.
The warehouse smells of baby powder.
Yes,
today.
because Maud's been groomed.
Once a month, Maud has a wash and blow dry.
She's a very lucky girl.
Lovely Nikki arrives, and Maud used to howl. Do you remember when she used to howl?
Yes.
all
Well,
the
Nikki
way
said,
through?
I'm surprised you couldn't hear it, because she was obviously howling again, but the soundproofing must be really good in here.
We also put her a little way.
Put
You know when
glasses
you
on,
say
Jane.
what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, don't say that again.
There's,
Well, no.
there's a flat edge on my, there it is, there's a flat edge on here that needs to go with the flat edge on there. Now normally I just stick it in and just wiggle it and it just fits in. But of course today, there we go, it won't.
Well, Claire's talking about the EQHs. Now we know how Jane designs a quilt a week. I'll be honest.
I'm going to tell you now that it is addictive,
Yeah.
and
But also,
it's
like,
you fall into a rabbit hole, and the beauty of EQ, I actually have got version 7, but I really want to upgrade to version 8, Glenn.
if only
and,
you knew where or how.
And you can design a quilt. You can take 2 blocks, you can take 1 block. You can design a quilt, and by a click of a button, you can change the colours. So it gets a different variation. You can rotate the blocks. You can flip them. So with 1 block, you can get hundreds of different variations
Just with
and
one.
combinations of,
Yeah.
of quilt. And it really is, you can not waste. It's not wasting. I was going to say you can waste quite a few hours, but it's not a waste, because it's a beautiful, and it's also got a bit of, we went through that phase of having colouring books and doing colouring.
Mindful, yeah.
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's another way of, just absorb yourself in it and calm yourself. It's lovely. Right, let's do some work. So you're going to get your 9 fat quarters. You're going to treat them with your best press, flatter, whatever you prefer. And you're going to place them all with the right sides facing downwards, or right sides facing up, it doesn't really matter, with your salvages all together on top of each other. Now I divided mine up into a pile of 4 and a pile of 5, just because with a new blade in you should be able to cut through 6 fabrics no problem, but I'm going to do 5 and 4 just because it's easier. Now I'm right-handed, so my patterns work from a right-handed point of view, but we have put in the notes part of the pattern, if you're left-handed, just reverse where it says right, reverse it to left, etc. Just because if you're left-handed, you'll be cutting it the opposite side and it won't have any effect on the pattern. Layering them up. Now you can see here, your fat quarters are all going to be slightly different. They always are. It doesn't matter. Even if you buy a pre-cut pack of fat quarters, they will all be slightly different sizes. Just, fractions, but you want to have a straight edge to start with. So I've layered all these up, and I've got, this is the shortest one within the pack. So I've got all the salvages lined up, and I've lined that salvage edge up with the bottom line on my mat. And then this is the shortest side on this one for me. I've just lined that up with one of the lines, the vertical lines on my mat. So it doesn't matter which one it is, just so that you've got a nice line to follow. And using my ruler, I'm going to line up the ruler with that line there, and I'm just cutting. And this is just a cut to level off. So I've got all of a straight edge, if you like, to work from. I'm then going to rotate the pile of fat quarters so that straight edge that I've just cut is now on the bottom of my mat. And I'm going to do the same, cutting through this edge to get a straight edge here.
And which ruler are you using for all of this, Jane?
I am using my lovely Faithful 6.5 by 24 inch ruler.
Back in stock.
Love this ruler.
This was the second ruler I ever bought. Stripology being the first.
Yeah.
This was the second.
Your Stripology will work with this.
You've just got to fold it again.
You'll have to fold it again. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you keep everything flat on your mat, and it just.
And that's why, you know, that's why I started with both.
Yeah.
You know, because you soon realise Stripology gave me the confidence to cut.
Yes.
And then once I realised that the non-slip inbuilt grip that Stripology has meant that my ruler wasn't going to go anywhere, I then bought this, because otherwise I demoed on shows, you know, using rulers without any grip, and it used to terrify me. So I just refused to do it.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't do it.
You've got the beauty, haven't you, with the creative grids? You've got your little rough spots on the underside which are going to grip your fabric and not move it. It's slidey enough to move it across your fabric, no problem, but then as soon as you add a little bit of pressure, which you'll do when you put your hand on it to cut, it's not going anywhere.
No, this is the beauty of it. And they are rulers designed by quilters for quilters.
Absolutely amazing. They're lovely rulers. So lining them up the edge there and just cutting that. Again, it's just to trim it down so that I've got a straight edge to work against.
Morning, Lo. Oh, Kat says I bought the Eco 8 but not had the courage to try it yet. I'll watch you on Friday and maybe that will get me started when I get my energy back post-COVID. It honestly, Kat, don't
panic about it, because it really is an intuitive program.
Can I be honest? I'm with Kath. Like, if I hadn't have had the pressure of a show,
technology though, isn't it? And we all do it.
Because the stumbling block for me was just loading the blipping thing on my computer, and it was so easy to do. But in my head, that's difficult.
Yeah.
And in my head, Stephen would always load anything. We're a different
generation, aren't we? We're a different generation where computers weren't. You know, when I was at school, computer was a subject on its own. Computer studies, you did computer studies. You know, and it was never...
On a Commodore 64.
Yeah, that took forever, and it was like loading things up. So, yeah, it's that technology thing. And it's like when we get a lovely new machine, you know, how long do we leave it in the box before we actually get it out?
Oh, no chance with this one.
Not with this one, because it's just like...
But
we've all done it. We all do it. Our overlockers and everything. It's that fear of something new and that we're going to go wrong with it, and you can't really.
You can't with EQ8.
No,
you just can't. So I would just really encourage you to give it a go, because the number of people that we hear say to us, I've got so much fabric, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to design a quilt with it. You can just design a cushion.
Yes.
Or you can, you know, or look at your fabrics and go,
sometimes you're a bit worried, aren't you? You've got a lovely bundle of fabric and you're worried that you'll start cutting into it, and when you get it together, it's like, oh, it doesn't look how I thought it might look. We've all done it. We've made a block and we're like, oh, I don't like where I put that fabric. I should have put that there. With EQ8, you've got that option to move the fabrics round. So you can import your fabrics into the program, put them where you think you were going to have them, and then you'll see whether that works. And if it doesn't, you can then take
fabrics.
it. Yeah.
The actual fabrics, that's the thing. Elizabeth says, if you're cutting at a table, not on camera, do you walk around the table or move the mat round to cut? I shift fabric every time I try to spin it.
I do both.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I've got enough room on my table, I'll walk around the table. Other times I just move the mat, just literally turn the mat around.
We have, Elizabeth, a mat that is, 23 by 23?
Yes.
And it's just down here. It's like a square one, which I do spin if I'm cutting. It's just it's this side. I'm looking at it, Jane.
Oh, right.
And then that is easy to then just spin around. But if I'm here cutting on my own, I'll come around the front of the desk and just cut.
Yeah, I do.
And then it saves me spinning everything, because you're right, you can move things. Morning, Jess. Morning, Claire. Morning, Laurie. Cass says, computer lesson at school, getting your name to repeat across the screen. Yeah, it's changed a bit, hasn't it?
Didn't even do it. didn't even do computer studies because it was an option, and I wanted to do home economics and art. So, it was just like, you only got 2 options.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I was at school, computer studies was for, really clever people. Or so we were, we were led to believe.
Yeah.
And it's now they're starting at primary school, aren't they? They just use computers in every day.
Freddie is already well. I bought Freddie a Lego robot, and it's got coding in the robot that he builds, and he's had that for 2 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. Then you see these preschool children on the iPads doing games and stuff, and they just know. It's just intuitive, isn't it? Like we use a pen and pencil. It's just how we've evolved.
Yeah, I'm all about the pen and paper.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11.
Geraldine, she says that she hopes that you're feeling better, Jane.
I am. I'm still a bit stiff. I'm not going to lie. My neck's still a bit, and my shoulders. Poor old Glenn, his back.
Oh no, is he?
Yeah, his back's playing him, bless him, because he'd had an injury on his back just before Christmas. Of course, he got over that, but that little smash that we had aggravated it. Anyway, we're all right, which is the main thing. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Where are we at, Jane?
Right, so we've got our straight edge against the bottom of the mat. We've straightened up this edge here. Now we're going to use the squares on our mat to measure these parts now. We want an 11.5 inch strip, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, and then I've got my half mark. So this is the half here.
Right.
So I've got 11.5 inch strip there. I'm going to move this just so that for demonstration purposes, so you can see what I'm doing.
Okay. Pat says I ask my grandchildren to help me. Do you know what? Yeah, my nanny Mew does as well.
Yeah.
Exactly what she does. And we just tell my mum to turn it off and on again.
My mum knows more than I do. I'm like, how do I do this? She's like, yeah, you just go. So we're going to cut from this strip, we're going to cut an 11.5 inch square, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So I'm going to place my ½ inch mark on that 11. Now you can rotate the mat to cut safely.
Are you going to rotate your body? Oh no.
Or you can rotate your body. But obviously if you've got the room to rotate your mat, rotate it.
Oh.
Because, we don't want anybody having any accidents. I've seen so many posts recently of bandaged fingers because people have had a little accident with their rotary cutter. I'm like, what were you doing with it? It is easy to do, particularly when you've got a brand new... Actually, I think it's easier when your blade is dull to cut your finger.
Well, because it's not... Yeah,
because you're pressing harder.
Yeah.
So, I can't tell you, it's a bit like changing your needle for every project. And as soon as you change your blade, you're like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we're making an 11.5 inch square there. I'm just going to... Don't do this when you're doing it at home, but I'm just doing it so that you can see what I'm doing. Keep it together, because you'll see your cut line, so you won't need to move it. And then we're going to make a 5.5 inch strip. So with the creative grids, I'm just lining up a straight line on the ruler there, and then the 11.5 inch black dots, say 5.5, not 11.5, 5.5 inch.
Yes, yes, yes.
I know what I'm doing, really.
Yeah, and because creative grids are rulers designed by quilters for quilters.
Yeah.
They've got the black numbers give you 1.5 inch increments.
And then your white ones just give you the inch increments.
Yeah, yeah. Gemma has put a little reminder on, because we get new people watching all the time, and she says, just a reminder that our fabric kits and instructions are sold separately to each other. Why do we do this? Why, I hear you ask. We do this for a couple of reasons. You asked us, being one, and also because we have known in the past people to buy both fabric kits, and we don't want you then paying extra for the instructions. Like, that's not fair. That's an extra, ½ metre of fabric that you spend on
you wouldn't really want to have.
You can also choose how you want your instructions, whether you want them printed, and we'll post them out, or a digital download version, which means you can have them now, if not sooner. And Josh is just making some final adjustments to the digital file so that the digital instructions will be live shortly.
Wonderful.
There we go.
He's our resident wizard. He'll make
And
it
he's
work.
in today as well,
Yeah,
which is lovely.
We're going to cut a 5.5-inch strip.
Okay.
Now you might think, well, you can just put your ruler, your 5.5, on there
Yes.
and cut that. But you can't cut that if you're right-handed
Ooh.
because I'm doing that,
Oh yeah.
which
no,
is
no.
dangerous.
Yeah, don't do that.
So you're already on the half mark. If you've not moved this piece of fabric, it's already on the half there. So you just want to count 5 squares in, 5.5.
And do it from the other way.
And do it from the safe way. So lining it up with your mat there and there.
Oh no, Jess
That's
says I
like
now
this.
have hydrocolloid plasters from Boots, faster healing, specifically due to cutting fabric when I'm tired. That's not fabric you're cutting though, is it, Jess? That's your finger.
Yes.
Please be careful. But you see, Jess is another one. She makes for magazines, she makes for shows. She's always up against time limits.
Yeah,
and
time
so
limits,
you
and
do,
it does make you rush.
Yeah. Morning, Vanessa.
So we've got this 5.5-inch strip here.
Yep.
Again, I'm going to rotate my mat round. Actually, I'm going to rotate it the other way so that I've got it nearer to me. And we're going to make 3 5.5-inch squares from this row. And I'm going to use the mat to cut these because, again, I'm cutting against, if I was going to put it on there, I'm going to be cutting on the wrong side. So I'm going to use the mat.
I would be getting my stripology out at this point.
Use your stripology, you just lie it on the top and you can cut 5.5-inch increments, no messing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's my half there. I'm not moving it, I'm leaving it as it is. Got half there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm lining my ruler up with that square there. And then we're doing 5.5 on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My half mark is going on that line. So I've got my half here.
And, you know, line your ruler up on your mat marks. You know, that's the other thing, isn't it? You really just all use it all to your advantage. I think that sometimes we forget that we can use both in conjunction with each other.
This is the thing, isn't it?
But I really do.
Just move this mat. I'm just going to turn this round this way. Just
And with
for demonstration purposes.
this mat is nice because it's lightweight and you can easily spin it.
So you've got all of this left over for your stash.
Beautiful.
So you've got all that left over. So we've got a stack of 5.5, 11.5, 5.5 by 11.5, and then 3 5.5-inch squares. I would recommend that when you're cutting this, you have it with the right sides facing upwards. So I'm just going to flip those over. You want to, it doesn't matter at this point really, but while you're cutting, you don't want your fabric to move, so you don't want to move it too much while you're cutting. So you're going to leave your 11.5-inch squares in the stack that they are. You're going to take your rectangle and you're going to take the top square rectangle, and you're just going to take that and put it on the bottom of the stack. You're going to take one of your 5-inch square stacks. You're going to take the top 2 fabrics and put those at the bottom. And you're going to do 3 on the next stack. 1, 2, 3. Place them at the bottom. Do that. Now the top stack, you'll leave as it is for now, and then you'll take your next 4 fat quarters and you'll do exactly the same thing.
Right.
And then you take your stack that you've done, because you'll have taken the top fabric from there and put it to the bottom like you did with that one, and then you take that stack and place it on top. And then you've got your stack of 4 with this one, and you're going to place that on the bottom, and then you're going to, so you've got these in the original, it doesn't really matter, but you've got them in the original layer, if you like. if you then move those two up so they're opposite your square, and then you're going to take these squares. Now you might want to take it, depends how confident you feel.
Right.
You may want to take the whole stack, and because you've got a brand new blade in there, you'll be okay. But you might not feel confident enough, so you might want to just divide the stack again into two. But you're going to need to put them back together in the stack that they're in. So we're going to cut them in half to make 2 half square triangles. So I'm lining my ruler up point to point. I've placed the points on one of my lines on my mat. So that gives me a reference as well. So I can line my ruler up there and there, and I know I'm going to cut through. And because I've got a brand new blade in, it's really easy to do. Then you're going to take the stacks, and one stack you're going to take 7 fabrics. So I'm just leaving 2 there. Take that, place it on the bottom and bring those 2 on the top. And then there's this one, you're just going to take the bottom fabric and bring it to the top. This takes out a lot of the, because we've chosen the fabrics for you and we know they all blend and they look lovely together, it takes a lot of the, will this go, won't this go,
Yes.
how's this going to look?
Yes.
You will come to a point and you'll be like, oh, I don't like that next to that. Try to avoid that urge to swap it, because you're going to set yourself up later on to find you've got the same fabrics next to each other if you're not careful. You may come to a point where you do have, I think there's one for, here, look, these 2 fabrics are next to each other. It does happen.
I quite enjoy that.
But because you've got that sashing strip between it, it's sort of, it's not so obvious.
Right, let's talk about sashing strips as well, because the joy of them is that you don't have to match up points or anything like that.
No.
For me, this is a beginner quilt.
Yeah.
Actually, and that's...
I'm going to give you a little tip later on, because visually you want this strip here to match up. So I'm going to show you a little tip that you can do to make that sure that that does. But again, it's not going to give you, if it's a little bit out, you won't notice. You won't notice, honest. So, the half square. You're going to cut your strips. I've given you a plan in the cutting instructions to get the most out of each strip.
Right.
So you're going to need 17.5 inch lengths of 1.5 inch wide sashing. So 17.5, 11.5, 9.5 and 5.5. So some strips I said cut X amount of 17.5 and a 5.5. It's just so that you're going to get as much out of your width of strip fabric as you can.
Perfect.
Gemma's gone through it, so I hope I've made it as clear as possible. I do things because I do it without thinking, and then afterwards when I try and write it down, I sometimes think it sounds worse than it is, makes it sound harder.
Jane, before we get into anything else,
Yes.
could you possibly just waft that around, because
Yes.
we've just had someone asking whether or not we're going to do any EPP projects, and you might have missed this at Christmas, but Kerry, we did this at Christmas, and that's all EPP. It's the tumbling block bag, with the paper, with the sewable paper on the bottom, and we've actually finally got to sewing on the handles. Finally got there.
Get there eventually.
Yeah, there's no need to rush these things. But we've done that. And one side I hand stitched and one I machine stitched.
Yeah.
So they're all.
I mean, when you've got blocks this side, it's really easy, isn't it, to do it on
Yeah.
the machine, and it grows quickly, and it just a small zigzag on there, and it's joined those blocks together beautifully, and it adds to the finish. Really, it gives a nice effect.
And also, I had a load of Zoom calls, so the other side I hand stitched.
Yeah, because you could do it while
I was
you were
on
chatting.
Zoom calls. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
It was easy to do. Sonia says, Natasha and Jane, thank you both so much for introducing creative into my life. These rulers have helped me so much. Being dyslexic. I hadn't even thought of it about being dyslexic, but yeah.
It's easy reference, isn't it?
Lo says we've got yummy fabrics, obviously.
Yes.
And Margaret says, talks about the plasters. They're great for faster healing of scratches, whether from a scamp or a bramble. Scamp is a cat.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank
And
you,
Sue
Gemma.
says, thank you, Gemma. Sue doesn't say thank you, Gemma. She says, hi, Natasha and team. Thank you for your wonderful shows. As always, this might be a big ask, but here we go. Pretty please, will you be stocking the EQ8 upgrade for anyone who has the EQ7? Yes, we can do that for you.
Yeah.
If you want to send us an email, then we can sort that out for you, Sue. No problem at all.
Wonderful.
Morning Dawn, and Lo says, can't you just cut it all out for us, Jane? Oh, and put it together.
Sew it together and send it you.
And maybe back it and quilt
back it and bind it as
yeah,
well.
I mean, you know,
why
just
not?
I don't think that's too much to ask. I mean, suddenly can you get
make
us
me a quilt?
the EQ7 upgrade is like nothing at all, really. You know, if you don't mind just doing this for us, that would be
fine. Yeah,
that'd be
lovely.
awesome. Thanks.
So you're going to end up with all these little session strips that you've cut out, working your way carefully through my instructions and trying not to be too baffled by them. Gemma's checked them, so this is no disrespect to Gemma, but she feels that she's a beginner quilter.
Yeah, I know.
And I think if Gemma understands it, then we're okay.
This is what we're doing, and also we're also taking. Lo says thanks, Jane. We're also going through having a rebrand on some of our other our other instructions.
Yeah.
And just adding in maybe an extra step because we've got a newbie going through them for us,
Which is always great because
Yeah.
it's like
the more I do, the more I assume a knowledge
Yes.
that isn't necessarily there. For the sake of a couple of steps, if they can be, yes, grandmother to suck eggs for some, but actually not all grandmothers have sucked eggs,
Yeah.
which is weird
You know, it's
thing to say.
yeah, but it's like we forget, don't we? Because we were all beginners once.
Yeah.
And as we do stuff, we gain knowledge, we learn quick ways of doing things. And talking through my pattern with Gemma yesterday, and I say things, and Gemma says, "Yeah, but what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean this." And she's like,
Clearly,
"Well,
yes.
in that case, you need to write this, this, and this." And it's good because it's like, yeah, that makes more sense. It's a funny thing when you're writing a pattern, and also I write things, and then when I read it again, I've missed out words and things like that. And Gemma checks all of that for me, which is fabulous.
I dictate my instructions as I go, which is fine. But apparently, I have a bit of an accent for it, and that isn't always fine, and sometimes a bit weird. So, and also, it just wants seem to be SEEM.
Yeah.
And so SO.
Yeah.
So I have to go through and make sure that all of those change. Just
Words,
little
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, you know, when someone said to me the other day, they were very brave, by the way, Jane, but they said to me, well, it's only paper, isn't it, the instructions? And I just went, only instructions? Do you know the processes we go through?
I was going to say.
For each of our sets of instructions, you know, the amount of makes, remakes, changing, twiddling of this, twiddling of that,
Yeah.
then the writing up, the getting Gemma to check our writing up,
taking
the
pictures
taking
of
of
the
the photographs,
images.
getting those across to Josh. for
Making
Josh
sure
to
you've got all the
yeah.
images and not missed a steps image and then have to do it all again.
Getting Josh to format it all beautifully for us, getting it checked again that nothing's been missed out or put in the wrong box or
Yeah.
anything else, and then getting someone to make it to make sure that it all like all of this happens. So yeah, I did have a moment when
Yeah.
someone told me it was just paper. I was like,
Yeah.
and then to print it on really nice quality paper too.
Yes. On a really
get a bit
expensive
precious about
printer
it, yeah.
with really good ink in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
know,
it's just paper.
There's
Just paper.
just 5 sides to that, but that probably took me a week to write and make sure it was all there, and then another 2 days for Gemma to check it. And yeah,
It's all going on. It's all going
Yeah.
on.
so I'm just going to explain a little bit about how I cut my session strips. So your stripology would be great for cutting your session strips, 1.5 inch strips. I think you need 24 altogether.
Bish bash bosh, and it does it. So every time
Easy.
there's a star, you put your blade in and cut.
Cuts
Perfect.
perfect, no messing. And then I will cut, these are still folded in half. I will cut the selvage off, just so I've got a straight edge. And then I need 17, if I needed a 17.5, I would use my long ruler. And I would place the 17.5, just to make sure I've got it right round. This is it. The 17.5 mark there. We got that on. Let me just move these up just a fraction, so we can see it on camera. Now this is, I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you'll do this the opposite way. I will place my 17.5 mark on my ruler on that cut edge, lining that cut edge up with a horizontal line there, and then cutting it like that. I've cut 2 in one go then, 2 17.5. From this strip here, I can get a 5.5. Now I can either do the same thing again, place it on there, or I can turn my ruler around and do it that way. It's just, sometimes I think people can't work out how to use their ruler the other way when they're trying to cut lengths.
Yeah.
And it makes life a lot easier. You can, of course, use your squares on your mat.
Or your stripology. Your stripology is your foolproof
absolutely.
Way to go for sure. Maureen says, I'm new to this channel and I love it. I was just wondering if there's anywhere where that you can see photos of makes that aren't finished on the show. I'd love to see this quilt top when it's finished. So this version of the quilt, I don't know if we will actually finish the whole thing of it, but we'll get an idea on the show.
You'll get an idea. I've got some blocks under here part made, and when I've done some more of these, we can get all of that done, and you'll see a row of it. Yeah, and possibly another block as well.
But to get an idea of what it looks like in its entirety, it's the same layout as the quilt behind.
Yes,
that's and just in a different colourway.
These blocks, once we've got these blocks put together, you'll start to see how it works, how the pattern works.
But if you go on our Facebook page, then we post things on there, and Instagram as well. All of these things. Yeah.
So I'm just going to put these strips. Once you've cut all your strips, just have them laid out on your mat. You're going to keep this on your mat as it is, and we're going to. You can chain piece this, but I would recommend for the first 2-3 blocks you do it block by block.
Right, got it.
Just so that it's
exactly where you need it to be.
Where you need it to be.
Karen, we've opened a can of worms, Jane. Karen says, I've been asked a few times, can you just make me a dress for Saturday? Like, these things just happen.
Yeah,
easy to make a dress for me.
Making yourself a dress,
yeah,
isn't it?
But for someone else, the answer is always no. Politely.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a whole stream of, on the quilting forums that I follow on Facebook about, particularly in America, people saying, oh, will you make me a blanket? Because they call quilts blankets, and you're just like, the quilt. And it's like, I once had somebody said to me, oh, you've got your exhibition of your blankets out today, because I used to, on my birthday at the shop, we used to put what people had made down, because we were in an arcade, so it was all covered over.
Yeah, beautiful.
We'd have him down the middle of the arcade, and she said to me, oh, you've got all your blankets out. And I was like, they're quilts.
It's funny, isn't it? How just a word can be a trigger and gets us twitching a bit. And it's so funny because, it's all well meant, isn't it? It's all well meant, and yet we're like going,
yeah, it's funny. So we're going to put the sashing strip now, and this is the sashing strip that we've cut for the middle here. Now, as you can see, that's going to be bigger, but we're going to trim it down, so we've got it wider this edge so that we can still get the square in. So we take one of the sides of the half square triangle. I'm going to fold that in half, right sides together, and just finger press that. So I've got a crease in it there, and I've done the same with the strip. I've just folded it in half, finger pressed it, so I've got a crease. And then I'll line those 2 creases up. So I know then that this strip is in the middle of the triangle. So when I come to trim it, I'm not going to have lost the top of my square. So I've got 1/4 inch. It's already set. I'm just going to lengthen the stitch length slightly.
Lo said, I crochet. And when people ask me what I'm knitting, I punch them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it's like when people say, oh, you sew, will you put the hem up on my or will you make me some curtains? I'm like, I don't know how to make curtains. I do know how to make curtains. I don't know how to make curtains.
I just make blankets.
I make blankets.
I'm a blanket maker. Claire says, oh, what is it you're knitting? And yeah, shout capitals. It's crochet. This is clearly a thing. This is clearly a thing.
They
that's
see a
going
needle
on.
and wool and they immediately assume it's knitting.
But you know what? I would rather that people asked and were
Yes,
interested, and that's
absolutely.
the really nice thing. When I was pregnant with Emily, I did a big EPP blanket. I say big. I mean, it felt big because it took me 9 months to make it.
Yeah.
And at hospital appointments and all of that, because they never run to time, I just sat there stitching, so it didn't matter. And the number of people that also sitting there, and also because I'm the older mother, you have to go for extra tests and stay all day. And there were loads of us just sitting there bored.
Yeah.
And so we all started chatting.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's what happens with sewing, is the magic of sewing.
Yes, because people get curious, don't they? And then they need to ask you what you're doing.
Yes, they do.
And if you just happen to meet a fellow patchworker, quilter, sewer,
Yeah.
it starts a whole conversation then about everything. So I've just sewn that down. I'm going to press that now, and I'm going to press it so that this seam falls under the sashing strip.
Can you press it so it's on camera a little bit? Just
Can we see it?
a bit on the side. Thank you.
So pressing it flat first, and then very carefully just pushing that back, because we are working on a biased edge. So that's pressed underneath. We can take it back.
Now, some of you might be noticing a few little changes happening to our website. And Bridget said, can you add the date of the demonstration on your patterns in your upgrade, please? I know some already have, but spent ages trying to remember when I watched them. This is something that we do going on. We've been doing it for a little while now.
Yes.
Adding the dates that something was done so that you can then reference it on our website.
Yeah.
And Gemma's said, you know, we're so pleased that this is useful, but finding ways to locate the demos was on my wish list. So adding the dates of the demo and the instructions made sense. And also because we sell our patterns at the craft store as well, and a lot of them don't know about Natasha Makes.
Yes.
Because they only see me there. So if they then get the patterns and can see that actually there is a full demo, because they don't keep their shows up all the time, you know, they come down. So Josh has also been working on adding a link to the demo from the product pages as well. It is one of this is probably the hardest thing of all with our website, is trying to find an easy way to let you know what was on that show. But we are working on it, and we're always working on stuff because we don't stop.
No, we're always trying to improve and make things better for our users, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're learning all the time. So I can still see the crease where I folded that before. So I'm folding my triangle again, got a crease in it there, and I'm just lining up that crease with the crease that's already in it, so that I know now that these are going to match up to form a square when I get them done.
Ah, Jess, true story. In brief, random, well-known cheeky mum. Oh, you sew, great. Can you teach my child how to sew? Me, wise to this. Yeah, Jess, you're wise to all this. Happy to. You garden, don't you? You can do my garden whilst I teach. Random mum.
Yeah.
Really? I don't teach. Yeah. There you go.
So I'm going to press that now, and you can see that I've got it now so that when I pulled that back, the seam will go underneath the sashing again. So that both sides fall underneath the sashing strip. So it looks like that.
Fabulous. Oh, Syl's noticed the dates as well. It's good. We're glad that, you know, things we're doing are helping.
So we've got that like that now. Now this is going to be slightly bigger, but we're going to trim it down to make it back into a 5.5 inch square. It's not a great amount that you're going to trim off. Now then, this is now 1 inch wide, this sashing strip. So we need to place the diagonal line on our ruler so it's in the middle. If you place...
Can you just move the mat up a bit so it's just a little bit more in front? Thank you, my love.
If you place, you could, if you wanted to, take your fabric marker, put your 1/2 inch mark on there and do a mark on there with your fabric marker. But what you can do with your ruler, you can see, and I don't know if you can on here, but that's my diagonal line there, And either side of that diagonal line I've got 2 1/4 inch marks, and they are now sitting either side of my strip. So 2/4 make a half, so I can see that there's a half there and a half there. So that makes me know that my strip is in, that my diagonal line is in the middle of my strip. Now I'm going to move that up so that I've got more or less equidistant all the way around to trim this now. So it's 5.5, there's the 5.5 inch mark there, and down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the half is along there on this one. So I can see it's more or less, it's about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So you just want to be sure. Now we've got an itsy bitsy 6 ruler.
Oh, we love the itsy bitsy 6.
Which will just make it a little bit easier for you to see, because you've got the 1/8 on here. I don't know if we can see that because of course it's got the plastic cover on, but it's got the 1/8 marks on it, so it's going to be even easier, and you've got that diagonal line. So that's another way of making sure you've got it square, because you've physically got a square there, so you can literally see the square, and you can see the 5.5 all the way around. So if you've got a square ruler, they make life easier, but I just wanted to show how you would do it with an ordinary Creative Grids ruler. So just making sure that that diagonal line is running through the middle of your strip.
We stock all these Creative Grids, like, do take a look at them,
Yes.
because they are fabulous, and we keep them as part
So
of our core.
I'm cutting up there, and now I'm going to cut across the top because I don't want to move my ruler. So I'm just going to position my body slightly to the side of the ruler, so I'm not cutting across myself, and I feel more confident and in control of the ruler. And then I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to rotate the square around, and this time I'm going to place the 5.5 inch line on those 2 cut edges, so I know that I'm in the right place. The 5.5 inch line is actually on these, where all these dots are, but I can see it because I've counted the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there, look, and the half, which is there. So that's running across this line, cut line here, and that cut line there. So I can see that, and I'm still confident that my line is running through the middle of my sashing strip, and I can cut up there, move myself slightly to the side, and cut across. So now I've made my square, my 2 triangles, back to a 5.5.
Perfect.
I'm just going to do a couple more of these, just so that I can show you then, when we've made the blocks, how they go together in the row of the quilt. We're going to get 1 row done at least, so that we can see how that goes together. This is the most complicated part of the quilt, and it isn't complicated, but that's, you know. When I showed my mom, she said, well, you don't have to do the half square triangles, do you? You could leave it as a square. And I said, yeah, you could. So, you know, if you think this is a little bit over facing and you don't like the effect, you can just leave it as a square.
It's, you know, these are serving suggestions, aren't they?
It's a design option. You can, of course, pin your triangle to your sashing strip. I just don't, because I'm lazy.
Time efficient, Jane.
Yeah,
Time efficient. We know
eager
this.
to get on with the next bit.
Yeah. Eager beaver.
As I say, you could chain piece if you wish to. You could go through the stack and sew all of this side onto the strip, and then work your way down the stack.
So we need, in one of these, I guess they're blocks, aren't they?
Yeah.
You do need 2 of these, don't you?
Yes. You're going to just work your way down through your stack of half square triangles. Making these back into squares. So sewing the strip through the half square triangle and making them back into squares. Now what you can do is you can turn those upside down and place them on top of each other, and then you know you've got your stack in the right order. But it really doesn't matter if you mix the stack up. You know, if you started placing them on top of each other, it's not the end of the world. You're going to. The whole point of this pattern is that it is a mixed up. The fabrics all go. It should look lovely together.
Oh, they're going to be gorgeous, Jane. There's no should be about it. They do look gorgeous about it. And we're so lucky because we carry such a wide range of Kaffe.
Yes.
We've got.
We were able to really, you know,
dip across a lot of different collections,
Yeah.
including some of the classics, some of last year's, the year before's, this year's. It's got all sorts in there, and we're really privileged because of our association with Kaffe and Brandon and Philip. You know, I always want to have a wide stock of them.
I think we must have some of all of the collections, mustn't we, really?
Yeah. Which is just a really beautiful position to be in. And it means that every time we create something like these, everything here today is unique to Natasha Makes. You can't get this anywhere else.
No, this is and even the Jane Sassyman fabrics, yes, it's all from the same collection, but it's our unique fat quarter bundle. Nobody else has put a fat quarter bundle like that together.
No, exactly that. So it's just, and I'm really proud of that. Oh, Jane just says, quick look and say hello. Oh no, she said my mum had a stroke on Sunday.
Oh no.
So I've been at hospital all day since and missing the shows.
Oh,
I'm too exhausted by the time I'm home to do anything more than make a sandwich and slump in front of the telly. She's making slow progress though, which is good. Oh, Jane, I'm so sorry. Do you know what? You know when you go and visit people in hospital?
Yeah.
And it feels like you haven't really done that much because all you're sort of doing is sitting and maybe a quick trip to the awful tea machines. But it's exhausting, isn't it?
It is.
It's
emotionally
draining and exhausting.
Draining.
Oh, well, I hope she does make progress. You know, that's great. Morning, Vicky. Oh, Sylv said, I saw a handy set of plastic storage baskets for a couple of quid. Thought I'd get them for laundry and other random bits and pieces. Indoors. No, we don't need them. You can make some. Me. Okay. If you want to give me £40 for some Bosel. And the same again for the fabric.
Yeah. This is it, isn't it? It's like, will you make me a bag? Well, yeah, but it's going to cost you like £50 odd, if not more, just for the fabrics. Then there's my time to make it. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you'd do it for about £20.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Nice.
Elizabeth says, I love how you teach us organisation of the desk too. It's invaluable. It's a skill. It's all a skill. All of these things.
It all helps, doesn't it? And,
Yeah.
Again, it's knowledge that we've picked up over the time. And if we can pass that handy hint on to you, then it makes life easier for you.
Once upon a time, you'd learn this with your grandma, wouldn't you? Or, something like that. But, my grandma died when I was 15. So there was only a limited amount she managed to pass on to me.
Yeah.
And then you don't get it necessarily at school.
Yeah.
So where do you go to learn? And this is the beauty of technology for me now. Like, say what you like about social media, there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
But the
There
beauty is.
And, places like YouTube and things like that. It's
And
such
now
a great resource.
The fact you can watch it on your sewing machine and sew along at the same time, just amazing.
Amazing.
Just amazing. Do you know what? So it's funny you should say that because in the kids' bedroom. I was looking at, you know, the IKEA Calyx boxes,
Yeah.
trying to price up exactly how much it would cost me to make some of those.
Yeah.
I want to do it in the Moda ombre wovens
Oh, yes.
and do them a rainbow of those all the way along. That's my dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're lucky you can get it wholesale, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I know. And
Because
I
if
did
you were trying to do that at shop prices, it's like...
It's then getting the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll find the time to do it. But I looked at the run of all their storage boxes, because we've had them for ages. And I thought, it would be nice.
It would look
Nice.
stunning.
It would look really stunning.
Absolutely.
And it would then go with their beanbag.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
the Aussie Ottoman that I did, that's basically a beanbag for them,
Yes.
because they didn't want it overfilled.
Oh, no, it's lovely and squidgy, and you
yeah.
can really sink into it.
Well, the trouble is, Emily's so
read
small,
a book.
She couldn't climb up
Oh,
on top of it, so it had to be not quite so filled.
She came rushing into me this morning, and she said, "I've got a phone." I said, "Oh, have you?" She gave me a calculator.
Yeah.
I said,
That's
"I'll have
her
to
phone.
put my number in there for you."
Yeah. Yeah, she was looking for it this morning. She was distraught because she couldn't find it.
I just loved it. I love that imagination. I just think it's brilliant. I'm going to stop there. I've done 4, which will give us the idea.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pop these to one side.
Yeah, no, she said to me, Jane, she said, "Have you seen my phone? It's dark blue." I was quite impressed that she knew what colour it was, and the shade of it as well.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you've been in that warehouse way too much, girl.
She loves the colours.
Way too much.
She loves her colours. Right, so I have put that so that the strip is running from bottom left to top right.
Okay, got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So now we're going to take the 5.5-inch sashing strip, and we're going to sew that between those 2 squares there.
Nice. Oh, Jane, I just love this. I think you're so clever.
It's just a lovely, and it's a relatively quick make. It's quick to cut out because you've layered all your fabrics up, and I'm just going to finger press that, but you would press that up and away and then place your next fabric, line it up.
Syl's done the same. She says, "I've done the same with the storage cubes. I reckon my easiest option is to get the bargain ones on Amazon and then cover them with my fabric, because the stabiliser and the board alone would cost a fortune."
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? And then I start wondering, how do they make them so cheap? Like, how is that even possible?
Well, they make them in a country where the minimum wage is very
not
minimal.
what it is. Yeah.
And on industrial scale.
Yeah.
They'll have people that cut all the fabric out mechanically and
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, and so Kate's
you'll-
just said the same. She said just buy the cheap IKEA fabric boxes for the sturdiness and then put a new front on in the fabric choices.
Yeah. So you'll have a stack of those with the sashing strip in between.
Beautiful.
Then you're going to take your 11.5, because that's the same length as the square there, and you're going to sew that to your big square.
I'm just wondering if I can recover the ones that we've got.
You probably could. You could make sort of like a lining, if you like, couldn't you? And sit it in.
Or even just the fronts of them.
Yeah, sort of, so it sits inside it.
You know, like with houses where they double fronted houses.
Yeah.
Where they put a posh front on the front. Oh, you've got me thinking now. You lot, do you know what?
We just spark ideas off each other, don't we? It's lovely. This is what I think the sewing community is like. There's always ideas floating, and people are very happy to share. You know, if they've done something or they've tried something, and try this because I found that worked really well.
Well, I'm just wondering whether or not it would work with bookbinding glue just to recover
There's no reason why not.
and just glue on the front and then put some binding around the top.
So I'm now going to sew
Sorry,
these
Jane,
two
yeah, you are.
squares. It's okay.
Jane's actually making something very beautiful, and I'm worrying about my the kids' bedroom. Yeah.
I'm going to sew these two squares now to this sashing strap.
Jess says just pom-pom and applique the shizzle out of them. Again, like another option.
Yeah.
And Audra says those cave colours together are amazing.
Aren't they?
Yeah. But it just, I'll just leave the camera on them just so we can enjoy them for a moment. We went with magenta in the end, didn't we, to tie these all together?
Tie it all together. There's just a little splash of magenta, I think, in all of the fabrics.
Pretty much all of them, including the binding as well, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth says, I still want Lisa Chandler on my walls. Well, Lisa's with us this morning, you know,
Get
remotely in Australia.
Get designing wallpaper, Miss Chandler.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Lisa Chandler would. You can imagine this pattern with Lisa Chandler fabrics as well. It'd look stunning.
Sylv says you can make it up into a show on how to tart up your storage. Sylv, these things have not passed me by.
Yeah.
Like it's always about a show idea for me. It's like, what do I need in my life? Because if I need it in my life, somebody else is going to need it in their life.
What I found with this when I was making it is, for some reason, even when I line up all of the sashing at the top, it must just stretch it slightly or something happens, but you'll find that your sashing strip is just a little comes over. So just line up your ruler with the edges of your fabrics and just trim that little bit. It might be just that the weave is slightly looser on this plain fabric, so it just stretches slightly as you sew it.
That's fine.
It's
That's all
just
good.
a smidge, you know. But it will happen, so don't worry and don't think you've cut your strips wrong. So you've got that one on there. So you're going to put a 5.5 now and just iron the crease out of that. On your rectangle. And sew that to the side. And then sew your triangle onto the opposite side. And this makes quite a big block, so it grows quickly. It's actually a 9 patch. There's actually 9 blocks.
Oh my goodness.
But it makes, you know, quite a large quilt. So again, it doesn't take too long to make. It's quite a quick make, as I said. So you will have that effect going on. Now I've just got under here, I've just got some rectangles.
Did you have a little Blue Peter moment there, Jane?
I did have, didn't I? Yes. Have I put all of the stack? Yes, I have, I think. So I'll just carry on sewing these to the here, so that I've got
I'm just letting Lisa know that we've, I don't know if she's still watching or if she's got to the end of her day.
yeah.
Just letting her know that we've got requests for wallpaper,
wallpaper.
please. I was on the phone to her yesterday morning, and yeah, it was very exciting. Some of the new fabrics that she's got coming out are exquisite. Super excited.
Oh,
And
I can't wait.
Jane, I've just had an email all in French. What does that mean?
Oh, it's a no deal by all.
I mean, I'd love to know what it actually says.
Yeah. Could be saying anything to you, really.
But it means, I think it means that I've got fabric on the way. Hooray!
Let's hope so.
It's her new
It'll be
collection.
exciting.
So yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Do you know, we are the only place in the UK that she sells to that doesn't have a bricks and mortar shop open to the public.
Amazing.
And that's quite a big thing, I think. Morning, Beverly. Oh, we've got Susie with us. She's finished with dog and grandson walking.
Lovely.
I just can't believe he's walking. I mean, I remember when he was born, when they were waiting for him to be born.
That's exciting.
And now he's walking. That's nuts. Morning, Jan.
Just get these triangle pieces sewn onto here, and then we'll go on to the final stage, and then we'll talk about how we put the blocks together.
Oh, Karen just says if Lisa doesn't want to wallpaper, maybe you could ask Odile for wallpaper. Karen, why don't you just stick the velvet to your walls? I don't think that's wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I would really love that.
Yeah.
That would, yeah.
Well, I suppose that's what flock wallpaper was, wasn't it, originally?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, we started off, didn't we, in the Middle Ages, putting tapestries on the walls to protect the, you know, add warmth and whatever. So
we also had four-poster beds so that mice and other things didn't fall in.
Yeah.
That's a horrendous thought. Could you imagine?
Yeah, you can't imagine, can you? I don't want to think about it.
No.
I don't want to think about that.
Oh, Elizabeth said Sandra Rhodes hasn't got a patch on Odile. Well, quite.
I'm just going to flip that over so that I'm keeping them in the same.
Oh, you are so
same
organised.
stack.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to. It's as I said, once you've done the cutting and you've done the initial taking one off the top, taking two off the top, whatever, going down the stacks. It doesn't matter then if when you put them together, your stacks of block get muddled up again. It's all part of the fun of it, and it's almost a mystery as to how your quilt is going to look.
Yes.
And no two quilts will look the same.
I just love it. And that's the personal thing about it, isn't
Yeah.
it? Which is just fabulous. Oh, Alison says, Jane, your comment on doubting our cutting is so right. I spend my whole time rechecking. I must have more faith. Yeah, my grandma always used to say, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to do. You know, because the worst thing in the world is if you rush something and you miscut it, and then particularly if you cut it too small. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking. I'm going to just move.
Which is why it's never wrong to buy a little bit of extra fabric, Jane.
Well, no, it doesn't hurt, does it? It doesn't hurt at all. I'm going to move those to one side.
Case. What's it saying, Jane?
I don't know. It just had a little tune and did something.
I mean, it might dance.
What are you
make
doing?
us tea in a minute. We never know.
We
never know. We're still getting used to this.
So you'll have all your blocks with your two squares and your large square, your half square triangles and your rectangle, and then you're going to join them together with this piece of sashing here. So sew your sashing onto the one side, whether you sew it onto that square or the rectangles, it doesn't really matter.
Helen wants to know, how will we know a pattern has been tweaked? It won't be tweaked in terms of sizings or anything like that. It's just that if there's a less clumsy way to write something, then we're doing it. It's just retweaking the wording, or if there's a better photo that needs putting in there or anything like that, then that's it. That's it. So
I think the thing is that we've learnt a lot in the last 2 years, haven't we, about pattern writing and what people need to see and stuff like that. So we're not changing the pattern.
No, it's still going to make the same thing.
It's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And will look the same. It's just that we're making sure that we've been better with our wording and and our images.
Just
really.
those basics, yeah. And Karen says, "Oh, your machine is singing to you. How sweet." We have no idea what it's saying. It's like me getting emails in French. No idea what it's saying.
No.
And Claire, bless her, she's like, "Screenshot it. I'll read it." I don't know if I'll be breaking GDP because I don't know what it's saying.
Yeah.
That's
say
the
anything.
thing. We have to be so careful. But I really appreciate the offer.
So-
She also cut trousers too small yesterday.
Oh,
so she
dear.
says, "I will make it okay." Too small as in you've got to diet to get into them, or well, I mean, you could put like a satin strip down each side, couldn't you, and make them into like
make them into
oh, they always remind me of the
tuxedo trousers.
yes, that's the one.
So we're going to sew this strip onto there.
Yes.
Now, in theory, it's exactly the same size, so when we put it together, it should line up. But
Is the theory.
if you want to be doubly sure, line your ruler up with your seam line there, making sure that the line of your ruler is on your seam line there. So you can just push that slightly that way. And make a mark on the cut edge there. And do the same on the opposite side. So you're basically marking where your sashing strip sits in your seam allowance. On your, so that lines up with that side, and that lines up with that side.
Got it. Right.
So then when you come to put this strip here on top of there to sew, you've got a sewing line there and a sewing line there. So if you pressed your seams out, that's even easier to see. So you can match those seam lines up with those marks. And you will know then that they line up with the sashing strip underneath. And you can see here that again my strip is slightly too big. I'll trim that off when I do. But it does line up anyway. But if you just wanted to be doubly sure, that's a good way of doing it. And that
Perfect.
works when you've got blocks and you're trying to line your blocks up with the sashing strip in the middle. It works for, you know, lining up any type of sashing.
Oh. I keep thinking it's switched and it hasn't. Sorry, everyone.
I'll just take those pins out now and press that.
This is looking lovely.
So this is the block. I'm just going to make 4 more of these quickly, get that sashing strip on those other 4, and then I'll show you about how it goes together in the quilt.
Okay.
It shouldn't take me too long. I don't know how we're doing for time. I know we haven't got restrictions, but we don't want to go on all day, do we?
There's lunch to eat and cake to eat. I mean, come on.
Birthday cake out there. Come on, folks.
What were you thinking, Jane? What were you thinking?
That's your block. And I'll just get those other 3 done quickly with the sashing.
Beautiful.
And again, we can chain piece. Because by this point, you pretty much got your stacks done, and you know what you're doing. The process is fairly straightforward.
Oh, it's all very clever. All very clever, Jane. All very clever.
So it's just good fun, and you know, I've worked out the maths for you, so you don't have to worry about whether it's all going to fit together. It's all there.
Perfect. That's what we like.
Just get this last. We'll just get forward on, and then at least we can show you how it works.
Sylv says, stick it into Google Translate. Yeah. Have you ever tried that?
Does it come up with strange things?
Yeah. It's like my subtitles. Not always entirely accurate,
yes.
if I'm honest.
It's quite interesting when you're watching a live show and they subtitle it, isn't it? And you're
Yeah.
listening to it and you're like, that's not what they
That's
said.
not what was going on there. Yeah.
It's just,
But then I'm still a bit mystified as to how they actually do it.
it's clever, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just auto-generate whatever. It's. I'm just going to put those back in the order that I sewed them. I think again, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's like it gives you a fantastic effect.
Oh, look at them. Gorgeous.
You know, I'm going to sew this together, and you watch. The sashing strip won't line up, but for demonstration purposes only. You will take your time, won't you? And of course you'll make sure it all lines up and everything else. But we just want to quickly get these blocks done so that we can show you the construction.
Can I just say a big thank you to everyone who put their hand up and went, we'd like to help sew your Baltimore blocks together. I was
Isn't that
really touched.
lovely?
Yeah. And do you know what it means all the more? Because yes, I've done bits on it and demoed bits on it and what have you, but obviously I think I thought I had more time than I do.
I think this is what we do. And Glenn says to me, you live in a different time zone. You think you've got like 48 hours in a day.
But you know, it's going to be like a Natasha Makes community quilt,
Yeah.
which is just going to be even more special.
It's
which
going
I
to be
really
beautiful,
love.
isn't it? It's just like,
Yeah.
because I don't care what anybody says, there's something about hand stitching, there's a bit more love goes into it. And you've got all those people that are sharing their love of stitching with
absolutely.
you, and it will go into that quilt, and it's just beautiful. Just checking. I just have a feeling that I'll come to this and I'll have sewn one of them the wrong way up.
No. Oh, do you know what I keep forgetting to say to Carol Marlowe? Thank you so much for my card. That was so kind. Really lovely.
Okay, right. They are literally slammed together, and it'll be interesting to see what we end up with.
Yeah. Yeah, you're slamming together of stuff, and
I'm going
yeah.
to move that to one side. Right, okay. So you will have all your blocks, and they will all look exactly the same, she says confidently.
Right.
Except they won't look exactly the same because they've got different fabrics in them.
Yeah.
So you will have 9 blocks that look like that. So you pop them out in a row of 3. Let's just move these over behind. You pop them out in a row of 3. And if you wanted to, you could leave them like that and sew them together. And they have a piece of sashing in between each block.
Gorgeous, Jane.
Oops. Find a piece that's the right size. There we go. So you have a piece of sashing in between each block. But what I did was, because I thought, well, this is, let's add a little bit of an element. Because we've been cutting and swapping, let's do another swap. Let's do another thing with this. So what I did is I rotated the block a quarter turn.
Right.
Clockwise. On each row. So 1 turn there, 1, 2 on the third one.
Oh, nice. That's why it's really difficult to see.
Yeah. And then the fourth one, so it was that way, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 on that one.
Mm.
And then the next one ends up the same way because it's 4 turns. So you've got, that's the orientation, 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns on this one, and then this block is 4 turns, but it ends up back in the same position because we've got 4 sides.
Perfect.
Which is why you end up with this sort of triangle thing going on here. So if you wanted to, you could not turn that one and you could keep it that way and put, so you've got that effect in the middle of that, and you would have that.
Oh, lovely,
You'd
yeah.
only have that in one place, so you might want to keep it in the middle.
Yeah. So
you can put all your blocks out and play with it. You don't have to do it the same way as I've done it, is what I'm trying to say.
But I like how you've done it.
You can do that. So once you've got your rows together, measure your width of your 3 strips. Should be about 53.5. Depends on your 1/4 inch and all of that, but around about there. And cut your strip to the same width. You will sew your strips together with your 45°, and then you'll need to cut 4 to the width of your 3 box, and you'll sew your two rows together, and then your 3rd row on, so you've got your 3 rows sewn together, and then you'll put your sashing strip on the top and the bottom. And when you've done that, then measure through the middle, top to bottom, about 55.5, and cut your 2 strips then for the sides.
Right.
And then you put those 2 on the sides, and that's your quilt top.
Done.
Perfect. So it is really quite a quick quilt to make. It goes together quite quickly. So,
and also it's perfect for these big bold prints.
It just sets
that's the
them off
beautiful thing
beautifully,
about
doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got, we've got 4 blocks there, so we can see, you can see the effect that the magenta has. It would look, if you do it the way I've done it, it would look similar to that.
Yeah, there you go, Margaret. That's what you'd be looking at.
And that's the magenta strip goes through there.
Gorgeous.
So that's the sort of effect you're going to end up with. It'll be 3 blocks, obviously. You'll have other blocks there, and you'll have 3 rows. But that's how it sort of will look.
It's going to come together.
Yours may look slightly different because you may put your fat quarters in a different
But that's the joy of it.
orientation,
But
and that's beautiful. That's the beauty of it.
But the hours that we spent looking at these fabrics, pulling fabrics together that work together in any order.
Yeah. Well, you can see that they do, because these are now been all muddled up and mixed in. If you've got, what you can see happens as well, if you've got fabric that's sort of directional, like the garlands and the pebble mosaic, you'll end up with it going in different directions, which also adds, visually, it makes it look a different fabric.
It makes it look like a and also it means you can fling it anywhere.
Yes.
And there's going to be something the right way up. I really like that in a quilt. I really like that.
Yeah.
Jane, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
So much. We've had some stunning new fabrics arrive this week, so we're going to go and have a little play with those and see what we fancy doing. Do you have a plan for next week?
We're looking at some creative grids, fancy rulers.
Yeah, we are. And again, we're going to have some fabric bundles exclusive to Natasha Makes. And yeah, I'm excited by these rulers. I've had a play. I've done some shows with them on the craft store, and they're really lovely rulers to work with.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I know that you love a creative grid, so it's
do.
not fair that I keep multiple.
You are good at sharing. You're very good at sharing.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for watching. Remember, all of those Jane Sassaman fabrics are available by the ½ metre as well. And if you're buying more than a ½ metre, we'll cut it in a continuous length for you. If you buy 2 of the kits because you decide that you want to make a huge quilt, we will cut that in a continuous length
Yes, we will.
as well. Whether you want to go for the Jane Sassaman, whether you want to go for the Cafe option, they're all there, and don't they make very different looking quilts actually?
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
that's the beauty of these fabrics. I think they'd also look gorgeous in Lisa's fabrics. Lisa, if you're watching, just saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they would.
Right, you lovely people. We're going to go and eat cake. I'm not going to try and
we're
pretend
not
we're going to do
pretend.
anything
We're
other
just
than
gonna
that.
eat cake.
Yeah. How very Marie Antoinette of us. Right. Take care. I will see you. If you guys are, at a loose end Thursday and Friday, like I say, I've got 8 hours over those 2 days.
Oh gosh.
I know.
That's long days.
Hooray. At the craft store. So, do pop on and give us a wave.
Yeah, come and say hi.
I'm going to be creating havoc and mayhem over there.
Jolly good. No change there then.
No, none at all. Take care, everybody. Jane gives a wave.
Bye.
Bye.